an open letter to Forsyth County. August of 2018, when a 19-year-old UGA student didn't return home on time, the overly zealous and dramatic parents of Byron Grogan contacted the police. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Department, outside of procedure when a missing person is reported, began a full-scale search effort, enlisting the help of park rangers, members of the community, the media, and even police dogs. Byron was, by the grace of God, found alive as he stumbled into his parents' Sewanee home in the wee hours of the night as if nothing happened. Forsyth County used the best of their resources when a 19-year-old white resident sent all of his parents' calls to voicemail. 3 months later, Tamla Horsford, also a resident of Forsyth County, is found dead, in the backyard of her friend's home. Forsyth County then assigned the dumbest investigator to supervise this case, Andy Kalin. Byron Grogan got helicopters, boats, community shock and worry, and even a police dog. All Tamla Horsford got was Andy Kalin. Tamla Horsford was black. Dear Forsyth County, I have some questions. I have poured over hundreds of hours of video and social media posts, before writing this letter. I wanted to get a better understanding of what #Black Twitter was calling a murder and a poor attempt at a cover-up in Tamla Horsford's death. And like Forsyth County, I spent all that time investigating and I'm still not any closer to understanding any of this. But, unlike the Sheriff's Department, I proofread my stuff before releasing it. This subject evokes a lot of emotion within my soul. This letter has been weeks in the making. I did not want to get too far off topic or too deep into my feelings when addressing this subject. But music has been my outlet since I was a child. It had given me a way to express my emotions when I had no words. It has been the noise I needed when I could not sleep. And music has been the soundtrack of my life. My favorite artist is Michael Jackson. His music moves my feet and my soul's conscience. With his help, through his lyrics, here is my open letter to Forsyth County. Carry me, like you are my brother, love me like a mother, will you be there? November 4, 2018. Jean Myers made a call to 911 to report her friend was unresponsive in her backyard. As per her statement, she called 911 before even seeing the lifeless body in her yard. What stood out the most was her tone. It was flat and had no emotions. So this is where it gets odd for me. During the 911 call, Jean's voice is slightly labored but calm. She's middle-aged and out of shape. She speaks in a matter-of-fact tone. Without being prompted, she gives the 911 operator her alibi, which is odd. Her friend is lying lifeless, and instead of asking how to help, she's walking the 911 operator through her version of events. I call this an alibi. Jose Barrera then takes control of the call and talks to the 911 operator. He introduces himself to her, and I am sure they know each other. As if almost on cue, with no prompting, Jose walks the 911 dispatch operator through his version of events, and refers to his girlfriend's friend, as the woman we believe to be deceased. Looking at her as she lay motionless, probably pacing back and forth, walking the 911 operator through his poorly constructed alibi. Jose continues on, the 911 operator asks him, repeatedly, did he assess her, or did he check her pulse? No, but I bent her leg back, and she appears to be stiff. During the entire 911 call without assessing her, he believes that she is dead. Not one of the 4 people present attempts to help her. When the police arrive, no medical personnel accompanies them. Police drive her car home, and aside from a crime scene tech taking photos to illustrate her body position, they did not collect evidence or question persons of interest that day. According to online training documents I found online, basic standards for training of probation officers involve CPR. Jose Barrera did not administer aid to Tamla Horsford, given his training and employment background, and after repeated prompting by the 911 dispatcher, this is suspicious. Responding officers, crime scene techs, and the coroner were on scene, but medical professionals were noticeably absent from many of the reports given to Open Record. By Georgia law, a medical professional has to present to declare a person dead according to Section October 31, 2016. As Michael Edward Christian walks around Jean's backyard and speaking to his pal Jose, he requests that all the guests present who left return. As they do, I am sure he probably trips over his own 2 feet somehow and notices an inanimate object in the grass, and declares she had a medical emergency from a ground level fall and then succumbed to her injuries a few hours later. Remember Byron Grogan got police dogs, Tamla got Michael Christian and Andy Kalin. If they say, why, tell them that it's human nature. And 2 weeks later, Jean produced an email from Marlowe stating the batteries in her camera were dying, and they needed replacing. And in the forwarded email to Detective Christian, Jean alluded that she was not astute enough to know how to replace the batteries in the cameras. A quick trip to Best Buy and a phone call with Arlo determined this to be a lie. If Jean has ever replaced batteries in a child's toy or even a sex toy, I am sure Jean would have been able to change them. She has 3 sons, a boyfriend under 30 and an ex-husband, and none of these men were able to help Jean change some damn batteries. I call foul. From the beginning, this investigation was not a significant concern or important to Forsyth County. Persons of interest interviews took place days later, including one that happened 3 weeks later. More than enough time for corroboration, cover-ups, and lies. As Jean sat next to her Aunt Madeline Lombardo, as if she were assisting one of her children with their homework, Jean Myers directed her aunt on what to write in her statement. And while her aunt gave detectives her oral statement during her interview, Jean barged her way in, yielding gifts in the form of gift cards for the detectives. Situation, aggravation, everybody allegation, in the suite, on the news. All I want to say is that, they don't really care about us. As I look back on the history of Forsyth County, and it's mainly racism, I wonder, did this have any influence on the handling of this investigation? According to his self-written biography, Ron Freeman started his career over 30 years ago, in 1987. The same year that plagued the city with racist counter-marches by white nationalists and hateful bigots in robes calling themselves the KKK. Did any of this history have a part in the way they handled the case? Sheriff Ron Freeman, Judge Jeffrey Bagley, District Attorney Penny Penn, Judge David Dickinson, Coroner Lauren McDonald, and Judge Philip Smith. This letter is you. Each one of you are elected officials, and are in place for 2 purposes: to serve the citizens of Forsyth County and to protect their constitutional rights. But, you all have misused the authority and the power given to you. I will provide you with some examples. Bagley, Dickinson, Smith, and Penn, you 4, especially Bagley, are amongst the top 5 corrupt officials along with Sheriff Ron Freeman. Instead of using the authority given you to protect the community that has elected you, you instead use it to further create a racial divide within Forsyth County. How many wealthy defendants have you given a sweetheart deal to? How many rapists, child molesters, and sexual predators still roam the streets freely because of the sweet deals their overpriced attorneys have afforded them? Seriously, how many sexual predators will be free of the label of a registered sex offender when their probation is done, but their victims will forever carry that burden of pain? You, Judge Bagley, are a despicable round little man. You, like the above-mentioned, lack any integrity or a moral compass. How do you from an ethical standpoint preside over a case where you are friends with the defendant and the attorney? Is that why Frisky Hands Frank Huggins got off with only probation for sexual assault on a teen? Tell me, what has become of my rights? Am I invisible because you ignore me? Your proclamation promised me free liberty, now I am tired of being the victim of shame. Miss Penn, how many DUIs has the sheriff's office covered up for you now? I lost track when you were required to pay for the damages out of pocket. Can you also explain why you love sending blacks to prison? Question, for you, Penny Penitentiary Penn, wasn't your job as a public defender to keep your clients out of prison, so why did most of your cases end up with plea deals that involved prison? I mean, the number alone would make even Dickinson blush. Dickinson, what about you, sir, you old grumpy goat? Why the significant disparity in sentencing and bonds for black defendants? But you give rich white kids breaks? Like the kid a few years ago who was already on probation for underage drinking, has a serious DUI, kills his passenger, and you give him a low bond, and you sentence him on the low end for his offense so he can enjoy his life and he will also be able to get his license back. I know you remember Adam Robert Joseph DeMillo. You sentenced him to just 5 years in prison, and you even let him stay in rehab before going to prison. It's not like in prison he will have access to an open bar now, is he, Dickie? And you, Ronnie, or do you prefer Ron? I really couldn't care less. You ran this big campaign hinged upon you're more ethical, you're smarter, more qualified, and hell, you probably think you are better looking than Piper. No, you're not. But I hate to tell you, bud, the results have come in, and that, sir, like everything out of your mouth, is a lie. I am not sure if it is because you have low self-esteem and you want to have friends, and you desire for people to like you, or is it you like to have the authority to selectively administer the law? These scandals that are popping up like teenage acne in your office. Todd Maloney, Chris Barrett, and I hear you may have dug a hole and stuck Ben Finley in it because you don't want a sexting scandal to get out. Why is it hard for you to be ethical and adequately administer the law? And why are you still girlfriends with creepy old man Frank Huggins? Why do you sympathize with racist Ronnie? I mean, that's the reason you are no longer at the city of Brookhaven. You stuck your chubby little neck out for Chris Shelton after they fired him, right Ronnie? For that photo he posted of himself online in blackface. That's the real reason you needed a 2-year head start, to start your campaign. Now Chris Shelton is a deputy coroner who got him the job. They fired the man for having poor judgment and thinking it was okay to be a racist, yet here we are again, and you have rehired someone who was already fired, and fired for good reason. Ironic how you went on about Piper being dumb and turns out he was quite the opposite. When they fired the 11 of you, Barrett and Shelton included, that was one of the best things to happen to Forsyth County. And what do, Ronnie? You come back and you bring the unwanted guest with you. Maybe instead of acne you're more like herpes? You know they fired you, and you and the other 10 rightfully unemployed people went to court on 4 occasions trying to get your jobs back. And here we are, and no one is being held responsible for the death of Tamla Horsford. Ronnie, can you explain to the people why? Tamla Horsford death investigation. Stacy Smith, Thomas Smith, Forsyth County, Georgia. Nicole Lawson. Matt Myers. Let's backtrack a little there Ronnie, back to your campaign. Anna DeBlois was your campaign manager, right? Didn't her husband Brian give a hefty donation? Stacy and Tom Smith are friends with DeBlois. They are also good friends with you and your wife, right Ronnie? Did this have anything to do with the way they handled Tamla's case? Brian was one of the 11 fired by Piper. He also got creepy Frank the job at Linear Tech, and he knew Huggins was a sexual predator, right? Which is why Paxton forced him into early retirement. Tired of injustice, tired of the schemes. Your lies are disgusting. What does it mean? Ronnie my boy. So let me make sure I got this correct. The DeBlois are good girlfriends with your wife, and the DeBlois are good friends with Nicole and Stephen Lawson and Stacy and Tom Smith. Jose Barrera and Andy Kalin are also good girlfriends, all the way back when Andy was a court employee. Then you brought him over to the sheriff's department after he helped you campaign, right? So just off things, I can prove on paper, you and 4 persons of interest have a connection and a friendship. Jose Barrera knows personally at least 75% of the people that work at the courthouse or the sheriff's department. Not only that, you got racist Chris Shelton working at the coroner's office, where Tamla's body stayed for 2 days. So Ronnie, why wasn't this case turned over? There are conflicts. No one within Forsyth County has any ethical values. Penn, Dickinson, and Bagley don't keep getting re-elected because they are just great people. They keep getting re-elected because no one is running against them. So, this is what I will do. I have written an identical letter, with just a little less satire, and I have emailed it to every elected official in the state of Georgia. I also have crafted a message to more progressives encouraging them to run. And just like Penny Penn can indict a ham and cheese sandwich, I am sure someone will be able to run against you all, ending your corruption and conspiracy. Truly yours, Supreme Justice.